Hello, 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 and good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? It's Thursday and cold where I live. I live near Ottawa, and I'm just looking at, just give me a second. I want to show you how cold it is. Okay, -10. Some of you may think, oh my God, that's really cold. And some of you might think it's really not that cold. Well, I think it's cold. Anyways, listen, I want to talk about the holidays. Now, the reason I want to talk about the holidays is because it's about this time of the year where people typically travel out of town or stay in town and visit with their family members. And that may not be possible where you live. So we have to consider options, right? And I want to talk a little bit about some of the options that you may have. And I want to put more emphasis on volunteering, but I'll talk a little bit about that in 1 second. If you don't know me, my name is Linda. I'm a coach. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach. I'm a life coach and a career coach. And a lot of people at this time of the year might be unemployed. So, what I'm going to be sharing with you might be beneficial for you as well. So, let's talk about the holidays. Generally, the holidays, um, now there's a range of feelings that might come up. There are people that love the holidays. They love decorating, and they love being around other people. And so those people may still be okay with what's happening now. They may still decorate, but they may not be okay with the fact that they can't see who they want to see. So options, of course. Now, Zoom is one of the options, but there are a lot of other types of webinar platforms that you can use. I was just exploring WebEx today, and you can actually use WebEx for free for, I think, 50 minutes at a time, which isn't bad. With Zoom, I think it's still 40 minutes for free. And I have an account with Zoom that I pay a couple of $100 a year to be able to have as many meetings as I want and for as long as I want. So webinar platforms are still highly being used now, and even more so now for family gatherings. And you can have a lot of people on your page, right, on your Zoom call. Now, what I've learned about that is that it's helpful if you have two screens. Now, I have two screens, and if I do a live call or a webinar, I should say, with a couple of screens, I'm able to drag one, um, like I could drag either my presentation to the other screen, or I could drag the participants to the other screen. I'm able to see everybody that I want to see, including the chat box. So using those type of platforms to have meetings, family meetings, especially if you really, really, really want to connect with people and you can't. And about that, now I've decided to offer some support for that at a very minimal fee. I'm not going to talk about the fee right now, but I've realized that there are a lot of people who don't know how to use Zoom or aren't comfortable using Zoom. And so if this is you, if you would like to have some meetings or gatherings with your family members and don't know how to start, send me an email at backinthegrooveagain at gmail.com. Let me say that again. It's back in the groove again at gmail.com. You could send me an email if you'd like to. All right. So if you'd like to practice a Zoom call for a very minimal fee, I'll work with you to help you get more comfortable just before the holidays. Well, that's one thing I want to say. A lot of people are now using those Zoom meetings, right, to gather with friends, and they can still be a lot of fun. People can dress up, people eat together. I have a colleague that sets up these meetings for singles who want to connect with one another. And I actually talked to a client a couple of weeks ago about that, giving him some suggestions on how he can make his background, a little bit more pleasant, so that it's more engaging, and preparing a meal so that you can have a meal with the person you're meeting. So there are different things you can do. It's not just for meetings when you're meeting on the platform, and it can be just as good. Well, okay, it's not the same as if you weren't, if you were really with them. It's not the same. Let's not compare that. But it's better than not having any contact at all. It's better than staying at home alone or with your partner alone and not doing anything. And time it's time to start learning how to do these things, right? Because this is the way of the future, by the way. So that's one thing I want to mention to you. And if you're watching the replay, please add hashtag replay. If you have any questions, you can write them in the comments section as well. The other thing I want to talk about, put more emphasis on, is volunteering. If you're by yourself, or even if it's just you and another person at home, you can volunteer. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you in just 1 second. I'm just going to share. Hello. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to share my screen with you about the benefits of volunteering. And I don't know if you've ever volunteered before. Have you ever volunteered before? Whoever's watching me now, have you volunteered before? I see that you're watching me on my Back in the Groove page. Oh, you were. Anyways, if you decide to come back, please feel free to add your comments. So, volunteering, there are quite a few benefits to volunteering. I'm just going to share these four here. They connect you to others. They are really good for your mind and body, and they can advance your career as well as bring you fun and fulfillment to your life. Now, I'm just going to share one of my experiences with volunteering. This was a few years ago when my kids were little. My kids were little brothers. And so when they were little, I volunteered as a mom, so I would help out during activities once in a while, not that often. That was kind of cool because I got to meet a lot of interesting people. But then I was asked to sit on the board of directors. Now, that was a little bit intimidating at the beginning because I didn't have the confidence. I was in university, I was a single mom, I was working as well. So I was really, really busy. And I thought, oh, I can't do that. I don't know anything about being on a board. So I did sit on a board. They needed to have some moms, represented on the board. So I was a mom on the board and shared my advice, my suggestions on how did they may improve their programming. A few years later, might have been 2 years later, they asked me if I wanted to become the president. Oh, well, that was was even more intimidating than sitting on the board. And I accepted. So I became the president of, at that time, it was just the Big Brothers of Sudbury. And I have to tell you, I was president for 2 or 3 years. I can't really remember now. This is a volunteer position, right? It's not the executive director position, it's a volunteer position. What an experience. And I have to be honest that that is the experience that I gained to become the confident, well, among other things, of course, but to become the confident person that I became. It gave me the courage to speak out at meetings. It gave me the confidence to organize meetings and to facilitate meetings. I learned how to lead people. I learned how to conduct strategic planning sessions, right? Because as the president, I was responsible for that. So suffice to say, when we're talking here about, I'm just going to go back to what it said, can advance your career. Yeah, volunteering can advance your career. Now, when you start volunteering, and I'm thinking about at this time of the year, specifically at this time of the year, because there might be some organizations that need volunteers right now. And I have a friend actually. She's not volunteering; she's getting paid for that. Hello, to do some contact tracing. Now she lives in Mexico, and I guess she found out about this through the Alberta website. She's going to be doing contact tracing. Now there might be paid positions for that. Of course, that's the ideal, right? Hello, nice of you to join me. Please type in where you're watching me from. And this happens to be a job that she'll be getting paid for. Contact tracing. Who would have thought about that last year at this time? So there might be opportunities in your local community, especially if you're not traveling out of town. Now, I started off this live talking about, the holidays are coming up, and some of you may be experiencing some stress because you can't visit your family member. So I suggested Zoom calls, and I suggested that. Oh, great, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you're calling in from, or you're watching from Rockland. Wonderful. So I was talking about Zoom, and I'll keep this part brief, then I'll go back to volunteering. If you need some help with Zoom calls, or somebody who needs help with Zoom calls for a very minimal fee, I'll help you get onto the platform and understand how to have meetings or gatherings with Zoom. So you can send me an email. I added the email in the box, but with Facebook it doesn't show. So it's backinthegrooveagain .gmail.com. So let's go back to the volunteering, right? The volunteering is, especially if you're by yourself during the holidays, it's definitely beneficial for other people. Let's not pretend that that's not true, but it's also beneficial for you because you will actually feel good about what you're doing and who you're offering your services to. So at this time of the year, I think volunteering is even more important. And I'm just going to share my screen because um, now I know some people are in Rockland or near Ottawa and other areas, but you can do a quick search. You can do a quick search on Google to see who needs volunteers. Now in Canada, actually specifically in Ottawa, there's Volunteer Canada that you can go on their website to see who needs volunteers. And I'm just doing a quick thing. Spark Ontario. Now this is in the province of Ontario. Help people affected by COVID. Volunteer match. So in other words, okay, there are probably opportunities for volunteering right now in your community. You just have to kind of put yourself out there and start telling people that you want to volunteer. And a lot of people are on Facebook. I know you're watching me on Facebook. You might even put something on Facebook saying, and only post it to your friends, not the public necessarily, but that you're looking at volunteering. And volunteering can be with your friends too. It doesn't have to be with a nonprofit organization, right? So there's, a few things that you can do to kind of get your mind away from your worries, your concerns. When you volunteer, you actually forget about your worries and your concerns. When I was with Big Brothers, I mentioned earlier that I was the president of Big Brothers for a few years. I met a lot of really interesting people, professionals, moms, other moms. And this is part of the reasons why I offer my services mostly to women, because I got to know a lot of single parents, and I was a single parent, at the time too. So if you're a single parent, or whether or not you are is irrelevant, volunteering can be beneficial, right? Sometimes we need a break from our kids. And so in my case, it was helpful because I was able to get a babysitter and go to a meeting and concentrate on tasks and duties that were important to me. Giving of my time volunteeringly to the big brothers has probably been the most, I think it's had the most impact on my life at that time. And I was able to use, let me just back up. I hired um, the executive director. Now that executive director, the one I hired, was there for years. And I was able to use him as a reference later on. So if you're thinking of volunteering, there's a lot of different reasons why you would want to volunteer, especially at this time of the year. And so that's what I want to focus on. Now, I am curious. I know there's a couple of people watching me. Are you volunteering now? Or have you thought of volunteering during the holidays at all? Now I mentioned volunteering doesn't have to be with agencies. I know I have a friend who, I'm not going to say she volunteers. She might not consider it volunteering, but she calls her parents every now and then, actually more than every now and then. Um, and I know that she also calls other people, right? Seniors as well. So you might think, well, that's not really volunteering. I'm calling a friend. Call it what you want. I don't care if you call it volunteering or not. It is something you don't really have to do, but you're doing it from the goodness of your heart. I'm just going to do a quick search here to see what volunteers. I want to find a definition for volunteering. Give me a second. I'm doing a quick search. I'm going to share this with you. There. I'm going to share this link with you. Not the link, but the screen. All right. The definition for volunteering is to freely offer to do something. Freely offer to do something. To say or to suggest something without being asked. Wow. Yeah, it's that simple, right? It's that simple. So you can volunteer of your time. You can volunteer just by picking up somebody's garbage once in a while and bringing it to the side of the road. I have a neighbor where I live who, and I'm sure he's volunteering, but he mows one of the ladies that lives on the corner. She's an older lady, but he mows her lawn and cleans her driveway. And he is over 70 years old as well. Okay, so it goes to, goes to show you. My father volunteered for years after he retired. Now, volunteering, I'm kind of using this in the general sense. Um, Volunteering at this time of the year is even more special, right? It's even more special. It's even more important. Uh, and not just at this time of the year, but because of what we're all going through. So call a friend. Call a friend. Volunteer to call a friend and ask them how they're doing. I talked about Zoom, and if you need help with Zoom, that's fine. Send me an email. But actually using a phone, well, I have this type of phone. Actually using a phone and calling somebody. Imagine that. Imagine calling somebody and hearing their voice. A couple of days ago, I had a friend. I haven't heard from her in, okay, it wasn't that long, about 6 months. And she actually called me. She called me. She needs some help with Zoom, and I invited her to a Zoom call and explained to her, a couple of things. But she called me, and it was so good to hear from her. So why don't you just call some people. It's as simple as that. Call people hi, how are you doing? Just touching base. How are your plans for the holidays? And they may not even say that they have any plans for the holidays because maybe they don't. And this is it, right? Any act of kindness, guys, any act of kindness is, in a sense, volunteering, right? If we go back to that definition, it's freely offering to do something, any act of kindness. So here's the challenge. This is the challenge. I am challenging you to give of yourself to other people during the holidays, especially if you are single and have no plans and you're thinking, oh God, what am I going to do for the holidays? It'll be so depressing. Well, it doesn't have to be, and that's the whole point. It doesn't have to be depressing. Find something that you can get your teeth into. And, I have some friends that like to make things, like to create things, like to knit things. Oh, I wish I had that object next to me. It's not, it's in my kitchen. So I can't really show you what somebody gave me a little while ago. But if you have a skill, a talent that you want to share with other people, you can post that on Facebook, right? I talked about Facebook earlier. You can post that on Facebook. Hey, I have a few extra hours this week. How can I be of service to you? And maybe somebody will need a ride somewhere. I don't know. I'm just kind of giving you some different ideas here. So, if you have ideas on what you can do to get yourself out of your mindset, which is, oh God, it's Christmas and there's hardly any snow, or I don't know what I'm going to do, there's always something to do. Always something you can do. Even, and I shared that with my friend just the other day, if you're into baking, you could always bake something and give it to strangers on your street, right? I know that if you're still watching me, Marianne, we talked about that. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, you might want to share it with people that you at least know down the street, that you've at least said hi, because if they see a package of muffins on the side of the on their steps, they may not really want it. Um, so maybe a little note from your friendly neighbor that lives down the street, and you can include your phone number in case they want to call you. I think that would be, something to consider too if you're going to drop off some bakings, right? Because some people are reluctant. Anyways, I hope I gave you a few ideas, and I really hope that if you are alone for the holidays or alone with maybe another person, that you don't suffer in that you don't suffer by yourself. I actually thought of doing a Zoom. Um, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that or not, but I thought of doing a Zoom call where we spend a bit of time laughing and a little bit of time doing some meditation, and of course discuss alternatives too. But I haven't made a decision on that. Maybe I will. I don't know. If you think this is a good idea, uh, write, and it would be free. Of course, I wouldn't be charging for that. Write in the chat box. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I know you're watching me on my YouTube channel, which is great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are new to my YouTube channel, you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you are watching me from my Facebook group, my Facebook, not my group, my Facebook page, thanks. Thanks for liking my page. I really appreciate it. All right, everybody. It's Linda, your Back in the Groove Again coach. I'm a career coach, I'm a life coach, and I'm here really to support you. So if you do need or want any type of assistance, send me an email at backinthegrooveagain.com. Have a great holiday. If I don't see you before then, have a great holiday. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye bye now.